Hello there. They come here in droves in their jets to tell us not to fly in jets. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. As the 26th Conference of Parties, yes, that's what the COP in Cop26 stands for. As the COP gathers to discuss what you and I will have to sacrifice for the good of the planet, the hypocrisy of the attendees just shines through as they zoom in instead of zooming. Not only that, the pandemic rules are being totally ignored for them as well. Masks for the servants, no doubt, but not for them. But most people will, sadly, be blind to that. And when the attendees are travelling about, much will be made of the electric cars and buses they use, of course. But some of them will not have a sufficiency of electrical charging points available to them. So oil-burning generators are being brought in to fill the gap. Now, the oil being used is said to be second-generation biofuel, completely fossil fuel-free. So although it puts out pollutants, it's not as high as petrol or diesel. 6% less carbon dioxide, for example. So it's all okay and helps save the planet. But I wonder what the carbon footprint for making and transporting those generators is. Anyway, I doubt many ordinary people will find generators such as this turning up to feed their cars with electricity in due course. Now, one other way being trumpeted by Cop26 as them showing the way forward on climate is its menu during the 2-week conference. According to reports, they will be eating predominantly plant-based dishes with 80% of the food sourced from within Scotland. And the UK government has a whole page on its website talking about this. Cop26 delegates will be served sustainable, locally sourced food at the upcoming climate summit in Glasgow. Overall, 95% of the food will be from the UK, largely sourced from Scotland, and be seasonal. This will put sustainability at the heart of catering for the summit, reducing emissions and promoting environment-friendly food production. There will, of course, be seaweed on offer, and only reusable cups are allowed. But I see no reference to the bugs that many of these people would like to see the proles eat instead of meat, so as to save the planet. Oh yes, there's a big push for that in some quarters. So where, on the Cop26 menu, are the mealyworms and dung beetles? They could open a large box of grasshoppers or even better locusts at midday and call it Catch Your Own Lunch Day. And there's also no mention from the government of the climate killing, or so we're told, alcoholic beverages on offer. One hopes they will be limited to Adam's Ale only. But the government screed goes on to say, ingredients will be replicated across the conference's menus to ensure produce can be repurposed for other meals, if necessary, to avoid food waste. Repurposed. Ah, that's good old favourite bubble and squeak. For the servants' meals, probably. And I also have to wonder how much steak and salmon will also be on offer to go with the seaweed. Or will it be lashings of seaweed haggis? Maybe they could have that old traditional policy that if you don't finish your breakfast it gets served up to you again at lunchtime, and so on until you eat it or starve. Now that would conserve some food. But I do have to wonder how many of these people will be reserving their appetites for those sumptuous hotel and restaurant evening meals, and then rising next day early to the full pleasures of a full, Scottish breakfast of well-salted porridge oats. So thousands of them will be jetting in and being chauffeured about the place from luxurious hotel to palatial meeting halls, and probably the odd sightseeing tour on the side, to tell us that we must not do exactly what they are doing. And as to those hotels, surely they must be bad for the planet. All that heat in large spaces, all the human power needed to make them function. And I wonder how much of the food ends up in the pig swill bin. Surely these climate-conscious Cop26 attendees should, if it is so important for them to be there, be staying with a crofter somewhere in the countryside. I gather that the SNP leader in Westminster, Ian Blackford, calls himself a crofter. Maybe one or two could stay with him. Although his crofter's cottage might be a little grander than the average. But Ian Blackford is such a grand advert for Scotland, isn't he? So what will they be discussing while aiming at eroding the people's power over their own affairs? Well, before I get onto that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. Now, as to the meeting of 120 of the world's leaders itself and its search for something called climate justice, Boris has a plan. He tweeted out earlier today, "I'll be asking world leaders to take action on coal, cars, cash and trees to keep alive the prospect of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. So it's targeting coal, cars, cash and trees then. One assumes that because China's not there at COP26, the others will be talking about everyone else not using coal, so that China can continue to do so. After all, China only burns the amount of coal it does, so it can make all that disposable and ripped off stuff that we buy from them. Then cars, presumably to get agreement that all cars will be fully electric as soon as possible, even though there might not be a sufficiency of charging points available for those that live in the sticks in Scotland, for example. Is that where Sturgeon's free bicycles come in? Has anyone seen one of those yet, by the way? And trees, I assume we'll all be committing to planting more trees, instead of chopping them down to make space for growing plants that we then turn into biofuel. Now, what's Boris's beef with cash? Well, it seems that cash is bad for the environment. Great for individual liberty and limiting the control of overreaching governments, but that argument does not, it seems, deliver enough weight compared to the planet. But here's something that a report in cashlesseconomy.com said. Beyond the ethical questions posed by cashless payment solutions, liberty of choice, respect of privacy, and exclusion of vulnerable people, digital economies also raise the issue of their impact on the environment. First believed to be eco-friendly, the death of cash could in fact lead to increased carbon emissions, with digital transactions exclusively relying on a polluting industry. And it points to the way that computing systems and servers operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, soaking up energy. And while we still rely on fossil fuels, that consumption could well outweigh the benefits of going cashless. I'll leave you to decide on that one. Anyway, at the moment, with the G20 just finishing and COP26 just starting, all I see is a bunch of powerful people living one entitled life while ordering the rest of us to live a completely different and very limiting life. Back to the future for serfdom. So what's your opinion on all this hypocrisy? Please like and comment below.